what if all your fears, all the dangers and misfortunes you worry about, didn't actually come from out there, but from, well, from a lack of wisdom inside?
That's a really striking thought to start with, isn't it?
It is, and it's right where we're beginning today. We're doing a deep dive into this ancient text. It's called the Discourse on the Many Elements, or the Bahudhātukasuttaṃ.
Yeah, in this text, it puts forward a pretty remarkable idea. It basically tries to define what it means to be truly wise.
Okay.
And crucially, how that wisdom itself acts as a kind of ultimate protection. It suggests it leads you to a state where you're actually free from fear, free from danger, free from misfortune.
Wow.
It uses this really vivid analogy, almost like a warning. It says, just like a fire starting in a flimsy little grass hut can spread easily.
Right, and take down something much bigger.
Exactly. It can burn down even a strong, well-built house. The text draws a parallel. Fears and dangers arise from the foolish, it says, not from the wise.
So our mission today really is to pull out the key insights from this scripture. We want to offer you a framework, maybe surprising but really practical, for building that deep wisdom.
And navigating your world with, hopefully, more clarity, more confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Now the text, it kicks off with this incredibly bold statement. All fears, dangers, and misfortunes arise from the foolish, not the wise. That really makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It suggests wisdom isn't just, collecting knowledge. It's more fundamental.
Yeah.
And state of being.
Like an inner shield.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
An inner shield against life's, its difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
And the text is very explicit. No fear from the wise, no danger from the wise, no misfortune from the wise. It's not saying you avoid life or challenges, not at all.
Right.
It's pointing to a fundamental shift in how you interact with everything.
Right. A shift that changes the interaction itself.
Precisely.
So, okay, if wisdom is this ultimate defense,
Yeah.
what does that actually look like? I mean, how do you get there?
Well, that's where the text gets really helpful, really practical. There's this moment where a disciple, Ananda, he asks the Buddha directly.
Okay.
He says something like, "How venerable, sir, is a monk considered wise and discerning?" And the answer he gets, well, that gives us the roadmap for our whole deep dive today.
Perfect. So what's the answer?
The text says a wise person is skilled in 4 key areas. And these aren't presented as just like abstract ideas. They're framed as practical skills you cultivate.
4 skills. Okay, what are they?
First, understanding elements. The word is ṭhānāṭhāna. Second, mastering sense bases, āyatanas. Third, grasping dependent origination, paṭiccasamuppāda.
Okay.
And fourth, discerning right and wrong occasions or possibilities, ṭhānāṭhāna.
Right, let's unpack that first one then. Understanding elements. Now, when the text says elements, it sounds like, maybe earth, air, fire, water.
Well, yes, but it goes much, much broader than that. It's really about understanding reality through several different classifications, some quite surprising.
Okay, tell us more. Like, what kind of classifications?
So one major set is the 18 elements. This is really comprehensive. It breaks down literally every experience you have into 3 parts.
Parts.
Yeah. The sense organ itself, like your eye, the object, like a shape or color, and the consciousness that arises because of that contact eye consciousness.
Ah, okay. So I form eye consciousness.
Exactly. And the same for the ear and sounds, nose and smells, tongue and tastes, the body and touch, and even the mind and mental objects like thoughts or feelings.
Mind, mental objects, and mind consciousness. Wow, okay. That covers everything.
Pretty much. It defines how we perceive and process the world. The insight isn't just listing them. It's seeing that all experience is made of these parts. It's not some solid thing.
That makes sense. It lets you see the process. What else?
Then there are the 6 elements you mentioned: earth, water, fire, wind, space, and consciousness. Kind of the fundamental building blocks of existence in this view. And another set of 6 elements dealing with our inner world: happiness, suffering, joy, sorrow, equanimity, and even ignorance is listed as an element here.
Interesting. So our feelings and mental states, too.
Yeah, the whole landscape. And then there's a set of 6 elements focused on ethics, on volition. Things like sensual pleasure versus renunciation, ill will versus non-ill will, cruelty versus non-cruelty.
So choices and intentions.
Exactly. Then you have the 3 elements describing realms of existence: the sensual realm, or the normal world; the form realm, subtler meditative states; and the formless realm, even more refined mental states.
Okay.
And finally, perhaps the most profound, the 2 elements. This is the ultimate distinction between the conditioned Basically everything that arises and ceases, everything impermanent.
Which is almost everything we experience.
Right. And the unconditioned, that which is beyond arising and ceasing, like nirvana.
So understanding elements is really about mapping reality, from the senses up to the ultimate nature of things?
You could say that. It's seeing the components, seeing the structure as the foundation for wisdom.
Okay, that leads us to the second skill, mastering the sense spaces, āyatana. How does this build on understanding elements?
Well, if the elements describe the components, the sense bases focus on the gateways of experience. It's about deeply knowing and seeing the 6 internal bases: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind.
Our senses and mind.
Right. And their corresponding 6 external bases: forms, sounds, odors, tastes, tangible things, and mental objects.
The things they perceive.
Exactly. So mastering this skill means understanding that whole apparatus of perception, seeing how sights, sounds, thoughts actually arise through these specific doorways.
So it's not just knowing you have eyes, but understanding how seeing happens and shapes your world.
Precisely. It gives you clarity on the mechanics of your own experience, which is incredibly powerful for gaining control over reactions.
Okay, that makes sense. Now the third skill, you said it was grasping dependent origination, paṭiccasamuppāda. This sounds really central.
Oh, it absolutely is. This is where we get into the real core mechanics of, well, how things work, especially how suffering comes about and how it can end.
The chain of cause and effect.
Exactly. The text states the principle very simply. When this exists, that comes to be. With the arising of this, that arises.
Simple but profound.
And the opposite. When this does not exist, that does not come to be. With the cessation of this, that ceases. It's all about conditionality.
Okay.
Then it lays out the famous 12 links. It shows how starting from ignorance, not understanding reality clearly,
Ignorance.
that leads to mental formations like intentions and volitions,
Right.
which leads to consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
then name and form, mind and body, then the 6 sense bases we just
That's
discussed,
the sense.
which leads to contact between senses and objects, then to feeling pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, then craving.
Ah, craving. That's a big one.
Huge. Craving leads to clinging,
Yeah.
then to existence or becoming, the drive to be, then birth. And inevitably that leads to old age, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair, the whole mass of suffering.
Wow, that's quite a chain reaction.
It is. But here's the crucial part, the hopeful part.
Mm.
The text doesn't just show how suffering arises. It shows how it stops by reversing the chain. With the complete cessation of that first link, ignorance.
By gaining wisdom.
Exactly. Then mental formations cease. And if they cease, consciousness ceases in that suffering-producing way, and so on down the line. If ignorance stops, the whole structure collapses.
That is incredibly insightful. It's not just descriptive, it's prescriptive. It gives you a target understand and end ignorance and shows the result.
It really does. It offers a clear blueprint, not just diagnosing the problem, but showing the path out, based entirely on understanding cause and effect.
Okay, that's huge. Now the fourth skill, discerning possibilities and impossibilities. Ānahanakusalo. This sounds a bit different from the others. What's this about?
Yeah, it is a bit different. It's about understanding the inherent order of things, what can happen and what cannot happen according to the natural laws described in this worldview.
Like laws of nature, but maybe broader, including moral laws.
Exactly. The text outlines several categories here. One is the distinction between what it calls a person of right view, the wise person, and an ordinary person.
Okay, what's possible or impossible for them?
So it says it's impossible for someone with right view to see anything conditioned, anything impermanent, as truly permanent or truly satisfying or as a fixed self.
Whereas an ordinary person might easily do that.
Right. It also states it's impossible for a person of right view to commit certain extremely negative actions. Things like killing one's mother or father, killing an arahant, a fully liberated being,
Okay.
or maliciously injuring a Buddha, causing a major split in the monastic community, or, interestingly, formally taking refuge in another teacher besides the Buddha.
Yeah.
These are seen as impossible for someone of right view.
But possible for an ordinary person, the text says.
That's what the text states, yes. Then there are what you might call universal impossibilities.
Like what?
Like, it says it's impossible for 2 fully enlightened Buddhas to arise in the same world system at the same time, or 2 universal monarchs, only one at a time.
It's interesting cosmic rules.
Kind of. And then there are statements about possibilities related to gender, which are important to mention neutrally, just as they appear in the text.
Okay, what does the text say there?
It states that it's impossible for a woman to become a fully enlightened Buddha, a universal monarch, or certain high-ranking deities like Saka, Mara, or Brahma.
But possible for a man.
Conversely, yes, it states it's possible for a man to attain those positions. This is presented factually as part of the understanding of possibilities within the specific discourse.
Got it. Just reporting what the source material says. What else falls under this skill?
The final part is really about karma, the consequences of actions. It states very clearly, it's impossible for bad actions, harmful conduct of body, speech, or mind to lead to pleasant, desirable results.
Bad actions don't lead to good outcomes.
And conversely, it's impossible for good conduct to lead to unpleasant, undesirable results. It also says it's impossible for someone doing evil to be reborn in a good place, like heaven.
Makes sense within that framework?
And impossible for someone doing good to be reborn in a bad place, like a hell realm. Good actions lead to good rebirths. Bad actions lead to bad rebirths. That's presented as a fundamental impossibility possibility.
So this whole fourth skill, it's about understanding the fixed principles, the sort of moral and cosmic physics that govern the world according to this view.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Knowing what leads to what, what's consistent with wisdom and what isn't, what's simply not possible in the larger order of things.
Right. So we've journeyed through this incredible text, the Discourse on the Many Elements. It gives you this really detailed, quite practical definition of wisdom, doesn't it?
It really does. Moving from understanding the basic building blocks of reality and perception
The elements and sense bases.
to understanding the dynamic process of cause and effect, especially around suffering.
Dependent origination.
And finally, to understanding the underlying rules or laws of existence and morality.
Discerning possibilities and impossibilities.
And the text's promise, really, is that by cultivating skill in these four areas, you become truly wise. And therefore, as it stated right at the beginning.
Free from fear, danger, and misfortune.
Exactly. That's the ultimate payoff described.
It's quite profound. And, the Buddha apparently gave this discourse several powerful names.
That's right. Things like the mirror of the Dhamma, the teaching, the drum of immortality, and even the unsurpassed victory in battle.
Wow. The unsurpassed victory in battle. That really frames wisdom as strength, as protection.
It certainly does.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to reflect on from this deep dive. Thinking about that last skill, how might really actively discerning what is truly possible versus impossible in your own life, maybe not just cosmically, but practically, ethically, psychologically, how might that change the way you face challenges?
Yeah, moving beyond just wishful thinking, perhaps, to seeing things as they are.
Exactly. How could seeing those lines more clearly help you find your own, unsurpassed victory in navigating life? Something to think about.